The year 1853. The place, Nantucket Harbour, and me, you can call me...
You've got your advance into sea, you'll go away, Santiano, to chase them whales through frost and snow. Around Cape Horn we all must go, to heave her up and away we go away, Santiano, to chase them whales through frost and snow. Around Cape Horn we all must go.
Call me Ishmael. Many years ago, never mind how long precisely, I thought I'd sail around a little, see the watery part of the world. Now, when I say I went to sea, I don't mean that I went as a passenger, no. When I go to sea, I go as a sailor. It's true, they order me about a bit and make me jump from spar to spar like a grasshopper, but what indignity does it do a man to follow a few orders? I mean, who ain't a slave to something? Tell me that. And in that great open expanse, one can find a clearness of mind, outdone only by the departing of life. And the ship's owner's also in the habit of paying you for your troubles, and I've never heard of a passenger getting paid, that's for sure. So, having smelt the seas as a merchant sailor, I took it to my mind to go as a whaler. Don't know why.
Ishmael then travelled down to Nantucket Island, it having the largest and most esteemed of whaling fleets. He then set in search for a bed for the night to get out of the dismal and drenching rain.
The first inn I visited! The second inn I visited! Third inn I visited! It was cheap and the only one left. I sought the landlord and requested to be accommodated that night.
We're full. Not a bed unoccupied, but a vast. You ain't got no objection to sharing a harpooner's blanket, have you? If you're going a whaling, you better get used to that sort of thing.
Now, I'm not in the habit of sharing two to a bed, but on a night like this, well, I mean, if the harpooner is decidedly not, objectionable, then I'll share the half of any man's blanket. Landlord, that's not the harpooner, is it?
Oh no! No one dare drink with a harpooner!
I don't know why, but I began to grow increasingly suspicious of this harpooner. No man prefers to spend two to a bed. But when that someone is a stranger, and in a strange inn, in a strange town, and that stranger's a harpooner, one's objections begin to multiply. Landlord! Hi, landlord. What sort of chap is he? And does he always keep such late hours?
Oh no! The harpooner's usually an early bird. I can't imagine what's keeping him out so late. Unless he's having trouble selling his head.
Selling his head? Landlord, look, are you trying to tell me that on this blessed Saturday night, or rather Sunday morning, that he's out trying to peddle his head around town?
That's precisely it! I told him he couldn't sell it round here. The market is overstocked. Now, don't you let that harpooner hear you slandering his head around town.
Landlord, no. I'm not so green as to think.
Now, be easy. Be easy. The harpooner's just got in from the South Seas. A cargo full of balmed New Zealand heads. He's sold all but one of them. He's out there now trying to shift it. Tomorrow is Sunday. You can't be out on the street selling human heads when there's people's going to church.
Right, I suppose that clears it up then. You better show me to my room.
Speak or I will kill you!
Look, landlord! Landlord!
Don't be afraid! It's only Queequeg! He wouldn't harm a hair on your head!
Stop your grinning! Why didn't you tell me this harpooner was a cannibal?
I thought you knowed it! I told you he was peddling eggs on the street! Now calm down. I knows his language. I'll talk to him. Queequeg! Queequeg! You! Sharing with the man! Caring! Sharing!
Oh, wrong. I'm sorry. This is...
You! Savvy! Hey, Savvy!
Yeah, we just have to share a bed.
Oh, I didn't know.
tell you. Yeah, I'll go downstairs.
You just have to... It's such a mistake.
Sorry. Hi, thanks. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
I looked at him for the moment, and he was, on the whole, a comely-looking cannibal. What's the fuss I'm making? He's a human being, just like me, and better sleep with a sober cannibal than a drunken Christian. Landlord. Oh, thanks. Yeah, brilliant. Where would we be without your linguistic beauty?
There he sat, wild he was, a very sight of sights to see. Yet in that moment, they both found themselves strangely drawn to one another.
And the same things that would have repelled most others. They were the very magnets that drew them together.
I'll try a pagan friend, I thought, as, well, Christian kindness had only proven a hollow courtesy.
This symbol meant we were married.
Meaning, in his country's phrase, that we were bosom friends.
I would die for you.
Thanks. Oh, I would die for you too.
And with that, they turned in. And they never slept better in their life. In the morrow, the two friends concocted a plan. See, Queequeg had been speaking to Yojo, his idol, and he had strongly suggested that they should ship together, but that the decision of the ship should rest wholly on Ishmael.
After much prolonged sauntering and many inquiry, Ishmael learnt that there were 3 ships up for a 3-year voyage. The Devil Dam,
The Tidbit,
And the Pequod.
he peered and pried about the Devil Dam.
Hopped over to the Titbit.
before finally deciding that the Pequod was the ship for him.
Now, she was a ship of the old school. Small, but with an old-fashioned claw-footed look about her. She was long-seasoned and weather-stained from the typhoons and calms of all 4 oceans.
So we rode the old chariots along the come off the coast of Japan, where the originals were flew overboard in a gale, stood stiffly up like spines.
Their ancient decks were worn and wrinkled, like the pilgrim worship flagstones of Canterbury Cathedral, where Becket fled.
I never saw such a rare old craft as this rare old Pequod. Who's the captain of the Pequod?
Oh, I could be the captain.
Oh, no, the captain. I'm the captain of the Pequod!
Back to your scrubbing.
Supposing I am the captain of the Pequod.
What do you want with the captain of the Pequod?
I was thinking of shipping.
Oh, you was. Was you?
No, you know. No.
You are no Nantucketer, no man, no. You know nothing of whaling, I dare say, eh?
No, nothing. But I mean, I am, well, experienced. I've spent many years, several voyages with the merchant services.
Merchant service be damned! Dost thou see thy leg, boy? Well, I'll take thy leg away from thy stern if you ever speak of the merchant service ever again!
Merchant service, indeed! But what takes you a-whaling?
Because we want to know before we think of shipping here.
I want to see what whaling is, and I want to see the world.
Want to see what whaling is, eh?
Well, have you clapped eye on Captain Ahab? Well, clap eye on Captain Ahab, boy, and you'll see he only had one leg.
Why has he only got one leg?
It was devoured!
Crunch!
Chewed up!
Ripped as thunder!
Nibbled upon by the most monstrous spermaceti that ever tripped a boat.
So, you not only want to go whaling, you also want to go in order to see the world, really?
Was not that what you said?
Right, okay. Well, take a step forward there. Yep, that's it. Take a peek over the weather bow. Right, well, have you not seen enough of the world now, eh?
I mean, surely there must be more than this. Just,
Fine, sign the papers then.
Welcome aboard. Pleased to be welcomed aboard, Ishmael thought it was high time to settle with himself with what conditions he would be willing to undertake this voyage.
He was aware that the whaling business paid no wages.
But you are aware, of course, the whaling business pays no wages.
But all hands, including the captain, received certain shares of the profits called lays, and that these lays were proportioned according to the importance of the duties of each man on board.
But that all hands, including the captains,
Lays, yes, I'm aware of lays. So, as far as I've heard, I should be entitled to at least the 275th lay. That's to say, the 275th part of the total net proceedings of the voyage, whatever that eventually may amount to. That was a very small lay, but, better than nothing, and if we had a lucky voyage, it may even cover the clothes that I'd wear out on it. But this is nothing to speak of for the 3 years of full beef and board that I wouldn't have to pay 1 penny for.
Well then, Captain Bildad, what do you say? What lay do you say do we offer this young man?
Oh, I don't know, Peleg, you know best. But I suppose the 777th wouldn't be asking too much, would it?
Blast your eyes, Bildad! You want to swindle this young man?
I don't.
He must have more than that. Ishmael was the name, eh? Well then, Ishmael, down you go. Down you go for the 300th lay.
I've also got a friend who wants to ship with me. Can I bring him aboard?
Joe, what lay does he want?
Never mind about that. What does he know about whaling?
Queequeg, he's caught more whales than I can count, Captain.
More whales than you can count, huh? Well then, bring Queequeg along. That was his name, yes?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, what a harpoon he's got there! And he handles well. Queequeg, have you ever stood at the head of a whale boat? Have you ever struck in a fish?
Captain,
Yes.
do you see that small drop of tar on the water over there?
Which one?
Over there.
Yes.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Suppose that it's a whale's eye.
Yes. What's happening?
Where are you going?
Home. I don't do whaling. I own the ship. Captain Ahab is your captain.
Where can I meet Captain Ahab?
And what do you want Captain Ahab for? You are already shipped.
Just like to meet him.
I don't think that will be possible at present. You see, he keeps close to the house. He's a queer man, so some say. But a good one. Do not you fear. He is a grand, ungodly, godlike man. He is Ahab, and Ahab of old was a crowned king.
Murdered king.
Come closer, boy. Come closer. Closer, closer. Not that close. Ahab did not name himself. It was a foolish whim of his crazy widowed mother who died when he was just a child. I sailed with Ahab when I was mate. I know that he is a good man. Not a pious good man like Bildad, but a swearing good man like myself. Ever since he lost his leg last voyage to that accursed whale, he's been a kind of moody, desperate, moody, savage sometimes. But that will all pass! So, goodbye to you and to your friend Hedgehog, and remember, do not wrong Ahab just because he has a wicked name. Besides, he has a wife and child. So, though he may be stricken and blasted, Ahab has his humanities.
Haul in! Okay.
Hey hop! Hey hop! Hey hop! Hey hop! Hey hop! Hey hop!
Starbuck! He was the first mate. He was an Nantucket by birth and a Quaker by descent. He was a long, earnest man.
Headstand once, ye sons of bachelors! Mr. Stubbs, drive them to the stern!
Stubbs? He was the second mate, happy-go-lucky guy. He was neither brave nor cowardly. He took each pearl as it came with an indifferent air.
And the capstan! Blood and thunder, you lazy little rats! Jump!
Flask? He was the third mate.
And louder with a heap, and the merchant service boy! Spring and pray your backboard! All of you, spring your eyes!
Three better seamen, each different in their own way, could not readily be found. But as for the captain, he had not yet been seen.
By the ropes! Heave!
At last, the anchors were up, the sails were set, and the great Pequod sailed out to sea.
Now, for several days after leaving Nantucket Harbour, nothing above deck was seen of Captain Ahab. For all that could be seen, it was as if the mates were the only commanders of this ship. And yet, their supreme lord and dictator was there, though hitherto unseen by any eyes not permitted within the sacred retreat of the cabin.
Until one grey, gloomy morning, as the fair wind rushed the ship through the water with vindictive rapidity, I mounted the deck at the call of the forenoon watch, and foreboding shivers ran all over me. Captain Ahab was at his deck.
He looked like a man cut away from the stake, where the flames have wasted away the body without consuming them. His entire form seemed to be made of solid bronze, and threading its way out from among his grey hair and continuing right down the side of his tawny, scorched face and neck, you saw a slender, rod-like mark, lividly whitish.
So powerful was the whole grim aspect of Ahab that for the first few moments I hardly recognised the barbaric white leg upon which he partly stood. This ivory leg was fashioned from the polished bone of a sperm whale's jaw. Moments later, from his first visit to the air, he withdrew to his cabin, but from every morning after that, he was visible every day to the crew.
The very next morning, his steady ivory stride was heard upon planks so familiar to his tread that they were all over dented.
If you look closely at his brow, you'll see similar footprints of ever-pacing, unsleeping thought.
Starbuck! Send everybody aft!
Sir?
Send everybody aft, Starbuck! Mastheads, come down! All ye mastheaders have before now heard me give orders about a white whale. Well, looky here, lads. 'Tis a $16 piece, a Spanish ounce of gold. Mark it well, my lads, for whosoever of ye raises me a white-headed whale with a wrinkled brow and a crooked jaw, whosoever of ye raises me a white-headed whale with 3 puncture holes in his starboard fluke, whosoever of ye raises me that same white whale, well, he shall have this Spanish ounce of gold, me boys. And it's a white whale I want, a white whale. So skin your eyes for him, look fast for white water, and if you see but a bubble, sing out.
Captain Ahab, is that the white whale some call Moby Dick?
Moby Dick. So you have heard of the whale, have you, boy?
Captain Ahab, I've heard of Moby Dick. But was it not Moby Dick who took thy leg?
Aye. 'Twas Moby Dick that demasted me, and Moby Dick that brought me to this dead stump I stand on here today. And I'll chase him round Good Hope, and I'll chase him round the Horn, and I'll chase him round the Norway Maelstrom, and round Perdition's flames before I give him up. And this is what you've shipped for, lads, to chase the white whale on both sides of land, and over all sides of earth, until he rolls fin out and spouts black blood. Aye. And you look brave, lads. What do you say? Will you splice him with me?
I, Ishmael, was one of that crew. My shouts went up with the rest, and my oath of revenge and violence was welded to theirs. The more I shouted, the greater I hammered, the bigger the dread in my soul.
But why the long face, Starbuck? Art not game for Moby Dick?
Oh, I'm going for his death, Captain Ahab. But only if he comes fairly in the way of the business that we follow, sir. Captain Ahab, I came here to hunt whales, not my commander's vengeance. Your vengeance will not fetch us much in our Nantucket market, sir. Captain Ahab, your vengeance on a dumb throat is madness. God keep us then. God keep us all.
The next day was still and sultry, and there was little to entertain them. The crew of the Pequod could not resist the spell of sleep, and it was my turn to keep watch. While my shoulder leaned against the slackened rope, I swayed to and fro in an utterly enchanting air. And then suddenly, just beneath my closed eyes, bubbles started bursting just underneath us. There, I shot back to life again, and there, rolling in the water, not 40 fathoms off, a gigantic sperm whale, rolling in the water like the capsized hull of a great ship. There she blows!
As if struck by some enchanter's wand, the slippy ship and every slipper in it all at once started into wakefulness. There she blows!
The boats were lowered. The whale seemed to become aware of his pursuers as a mighty change came over the fish. All alive to his jeopardy, he was going head out.
Although apparently the most massive, the sperm whale's head is by far the most buoyant part about him, so that with ease he elevates it in the air and invariably does so when going at his utmost speed. Thump.
Darren! That's it! Don't hurry yourselves, take plenty of time. But start her like the thunderclaps. Start her like grinning devils and grim death. Raise her from the death graves, men. That's right, but cool it. Cool. Cucumbers is the word, men. Now, start her up nice and easy. That's it. Now stand up, sailor, and let her of it.
The harpoon struck.
Where the line? Where the line?
The oarsman snatched up his hat and dashed seawater onto the line.
The harpoon is attached to the boat by an extremely long line, which shoots out at such tremendous speed that it risks catching fire, hence the need to douse it. Also, you need to be extremely careful not to get caught around the neck, otherwise you might be shot out of the boat and die.
The boat flew through the boiling water like a shark, all fins.
On they rushed, each man with might, clinging to his seat to prevent from being tossed into the foam, yet until eventually the whale somewhat slackened in his flight.
All in! All in!
Now each man began pulling on the ropes to bring the boat ever closer to the whale, while the boat itself was still being towed on, till eventually, ranging up by its flank, Queequeg darted dart after dart into the flying fish.
The red tide now poured from all sides of the monster like brooks down a hill. And his tormented body rolled not in brine but in blood, which bubbled and seethed for furlongs behind in their wake. And all the while, jet after jet of white smoke was agonizingly shot from the spiracle of the whale.
At last, gush after gush of clotted red gore, as if it had been the lays of red wine, shot into the frighted air, and falling back again, ran dripping down his motionless flanks into the sea. His heart had burst.
The whale is now dead, but the work has only just begun. All at once, the ivory Pequod is turned into a shamble. Every sailor a butcher. The whale is harnessed along the side of the ship, head at the prow, tail at the stern. The two mates, Starbuck and Stubbs, climb onto the lifeless creature, and using sharpened spades, cut a semicircular hole in the whale's flesh. Into the hole, they insert a hook which is attached to the rigging of the swaying ship. And all at once, the crew on deck, striking up a wild chorus, commence heaving on the line. Chongni, 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 Chongni. The weight of the whale causes the ship to careen over to one side until a loud, startling snap is heard, and flesh rips from the whale's body. The ship rights itself as the first strip of blubber rises into the air. Now, blubber envelops the whale precisely as the rind does an orange. And so it is stripped off from the whale precisely as an orange is sometimes stripped, by spiralizing it. But the strain kept up by the hook continually keeps the whale rolling over and over in the water, so the two mates have to constantly keep balance whilst cutting the flesh into an even strip that rises into the rigging. As it reaches the top of the rigging, it is then cut off from the whale, and for a brief moment it sways to and fro in the air, drenching everyone below in blood. Each strip is then lowered into a huge reeking cauldron for the oil to be boiled, and the air fills with the stench of burning flesh, boiling oil, blood, sweat, fire and smoke. It is the stench of hell as the men keep heaving, the mates keep cutting, and the oil keeps boiling. The work goes on for days and days on end, until all of the flesh is stripped and all of the oil is boiled. Ciągnij chociaż mokre plecy, rany wiatru leczy, chociaż przestać pragniesz. Ciągnij bracie, aż nie padniesz. Ciągnij, ciągnij. And then, when all the work is done, and the great Leviathan is stripped of the bulk of his body, he is then beheaded. As his carcass gets swallowed by the waves, the men go after the most profitable part of the whale, the spermaceti oil. One man, Ishmael, climbs onto the floating head, cuts a small hole in the head's soft cavity, and using bucket after bucket, scoops up the spermaceti oil. And Ishmael tries and tries hard to keep his balance, an ever harder task, as oil keeps overflowing from the head and from the rising bucket, wetting the skin underneath Ishmael's feet, until, with just a tiny move of his toes, Ishmael slips into the whale's head. Queequeg jumps into the sea after his bosom friend. Ciągnij, chociaż mokre plecy, rany wiatru leczy, chociaż przestać pragniesz. Ciągnij bracie, aż nie padniesz. Ciągnij, 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 ciągnij. Ciągnij, ciągnij, ciągnij. was then seen boldly striking out with one arm, and with the other holding on to a rather stricken Ishmael. They were quickly brought onto the waiting ship, and quickly onto deck. And while Ishmael was long in coming to, Queequeg did not look too brisk either.
Who's there?
Captain Ahab, it is I, Starbuck. The oil in the hold is leaking, sir. We must up Burtons and break out.
Up Burtons and break out? Now that we're nearing Japan, leave to here for a week, but to tinker with a parcel of old hoops.
We'll hardly do that, sir. We're wasting one day more oil than would make good in a year. What we've come 20,000 miles to get, sir, is worth saving.
So it is. So it is. If we get it.
I was talking of the oil in the hold, sir.
I was not talking nor thinking of that at all. Begone, Starbuck. Let it leak. What have the Burtons hoisted?
What will the owners say, sir?
Owners? Let them stand on Nantucket Beach and out yell the typhoons. Owners? What cares Ahab for owners? The only real owner of anything is its commander. And hark ye, my conscience is in this ship's keel, on deck.
Captain Ahab, a better man than I might well pass over in thee what he would quickly enough resent in a younger man, and I in a happier Captain Ahab.
Devils, dost thou so dare as to critically think of me? On deck!
No, sir, not yet. But I do dare, sir, I do dare to be forbearing. Should we not understand each other better than hitherto, Captain Ahab?
There is but one God that is Lord over the earth, and one Captain that is Lord over the Pequod. On deck!
Captain Ahab, thou hast outraged, not insulted me, sir. But for that I ask thee to not beware of Starbuck, sir. Thou wouldst laugh. But let Ahab beware of Ahab. Beware of thyself, old man.
He waxes brave, but nevertheless obeys. Most careful bravery, that. Thou art too good a fellow, Starbuck. Onwards! Onwards.
Now, it was at this time that Ishmael's poor pagan companion and fast-bosom friend Queequeg was seized with a fever that brought him closer to his endless end. Poor Queequeg, as he quietly lay in his swaying hammock, as the ocean's invisible tide lifted him higher and higher towards his destined heaven. He spoke of customs of his own race, which stretched out a dead warrior in his canoe and left him to be floated out towards the starry archipelagos. For they believe that the stars are isles, and that far beyond, all visible horizons interflow with the heavens. Once news of his departure had spread, the carpenter was called to his quarters, and he began to take Queequeg's measurements. This done, he collected his planks and his tools, and he set to work. Once the final nail had been driven, Queequeg commanded that his coffin be immediately brought to him, and he was lifted into his final bed. He lay there for some moments before bringing out his little god Yojo, and sighing with relief, he slipped into a fevered sleep.
I see. From this death canoe I see what will come. Ahab. It is Ahab on the great Pequod. He will die. He must die. But not yet. Not until the two hearses may be seen upon the waves, this rope. A rope of hemp that will take his final breath. He will certainly outlive me, but the rope will take him one day.
The ravings of this madman fill me with joy, for I have heard that within a fevered tongue there is often truth to be found. 2 hearses on the waves. Who has heard of such a thing? And hemp. Only a hemp rope may kill me. Surely the gallows he must mean then. And yet there are no gallows to be found here. Only whales. I suppose then I am immortal on land and sea. Even if that is somewhat true, it means my voyage is thrice blessed. And I will have my vengeance on Moby Dick. I will be needing my harpoon.
Even though every preparation had been made for his death, even though his coffin had proved a good fit, Queequeg suddenly rallied, seeming to have changed his mind about dying. When they asked him then whether to live or die was simply a matter of his own sovereign will, he answered,
Of course.
Now looky here, lads. I want a harpoon made. One that 1,000 fiends could not split. The harpoon for Moby Dick.
Fashioned into an arrowy shape, the steel soon pointed the end of the iron. And as the blacksmith was about giving the barbs their final heat, he cried to Ahab to place the water cask near.
No! No water for that. I want this one of the true death temper. Ahoy, pagans! What say ye? Will you give me enough blood as to cool this steel barb?
A cluster of dark nods replied, yes. 3 punctures were made and heathen flesh, and the white whale's barbs were soon tempered.
Ego non baptizo in te nomine Patris, sed in nomine Diaboli!
Howled Ahab, as the malignant iron scorchingly devoured the baptismal blood.
Soon after, a great ship, the Rachel, pulled alongside the Pequod, but no formal salutation was made.
Ahoy there! Have you seen a white whale? I say, have you seen a white whale?
Aye, yesterday. Have you seen a whaleboat adrift?
How was it? Not killed, not killed.
Aye. It was late on the Foan watch. We were engaged with the shoulder whales. Our boats were 4 or 5 miles from the ship. And while they were yet in swift chase, a white hempen head looked up out of the water. One of our boats gave chase, but that was the last we saw of either. Please, Captain, if you can join the search and consort with us, you can sail a parallel line, then we can sweep a double horizon.
I will wager something now, that someone in that missing boat wore out that captain's best coat. He's so cursed anxious to get it back. Mayhap his watch. Whoever heard of 2 pious whale ship cruising after a whale boat in the height of a whaling season? See Flask! Just see how pale he looks. It wasn't the coat, it must have been the...
My boy is among them. Please, I beg, I conjure. For 8 and 40 hours, let me charter your ship. I will gladly pay for it, and roundly pay for it if there be no other way. For 8 and 40 hours only that. Oh, please, you must, and you shoulder this thing.
His son! It's his son he's lost! Oh, I take back the coat and the watch. What says Ahab? We must save that boy.
I will not go till you say aye to me. For you too have a boy, Captain Ahab. Though but a child, nestling safely at home now. A child of your old age too. Yes, you relent. I see it. Run, men! Run and stand by to squire in the yacht.
Avast! Touch not a rope, men! I'm sorry, man. I truly am. May God forgive me for what I am about to do. But even now, I still lose time. God bless you. God bless you, man. Goodbye. Goodbye! Starbuck! Continue the heading as before! After Moby Dick!
Bad work, Mr. Starbuck. The sea will have its way. The stoke for one can't fight it. Ah, Stubb! Look through my eyes if thou was none of thine own.
How can you see better of a dark night than anybody else?
Can't you see that the wind that comes from the eastward, Stubb, is the very wind for the course for Moby Dick. The very course, set this day noon.
I don't have understanding. What's in the wind?
Well, the cabin at home is a short way to Nantucket. But the gale that now hammers at us to save us. We can turn it into a fair wind to drive us home, Stubb. But to yonder, windward, it's all blackness of Goad, Stubb. To leeward, hightward, light. Who's there?
Oh, thunder!
The runs, old man! Look aloft in the runs! Bring them down!
Avast! Touch nothing! It's a fair play here!
For the cognizance, sir! Look aloft in the cognizance!
Aye! Mark it well, lads! Mark the white light, for it leads us to the white whale! Hand me the main links, for I would fain feel its pulse, its beat, its flame against my flesh! Aye! Clear spirit of clear flame, of thy fire thou birthed me, and as a true child of fire, I now breathe it back to you! Light, though thou leapest from darkness, I am the darkness that leaps from thy light! Leap, leap at the sky and lick it, for I leap with thee! I worship thee!
The ship, old man! Look at the ship! It is an ill voyage, sir! Ill begun and ill continued! God is against thee, old man!
All your oaths to hunt the white whale are as binding as mine, and heart, body, soul, lungs and life, all Ahab is bound, and so you know what tune my heart beats to. Thus I blow out the final fear!
That night, All eyes scanning for the great whale. Old Ahab stepped forth from the scuttle, thrusting his face fiercely forward, sniffing the air like a sagacious sea dog. He declared that a whale must be near, and all at once, a peculiar smell given forth by the living sperm whale was palpable to all the watch.
Mastheads! What do you see?
Nothing, sir, I see nothing.
Stun sails! Alow and aloft, and on both sides! There she blows! There she blows! A hump like a snow hill! 'Tis Moby Dick! There she blows! There again! Ready 3 boats! Starbuck, stay on board and look after the ship. Already the boats there! Mastheads, come down! Starbuck.
Sir?
This is the last time my soul ship goes on this voyage, Starbuck.
Aye, sir, that's your choice.
Some ships leave their ports, and ever after are missing.
Yes, sir, that's the truth. That's the truth.
Some men die at ebb tide, others in the shallows. Some are taken at the height of the flood. But if we die here today, it shall be on our oath. I'm old. Shake hands with me, man. Lower away! Lower away!
Soon all the boats were dropped, with all the rowers rowing swiftly on. And ahead, through the serene tranquillities of the seas, the gliding whale moved on. Soon, the terrors of his great body rose out of the water, and instantly a high arch was formed. As if in warning, the great God had revealed himself.
Aye, Moby Dick, breach your last to the sun, for thy hour and thy harpoon is at hand.
As if in response to Ahab's threats, Moby Dick turned to face the 3 lowered boats. Churning himself into a fury, he rushed at them, jaws biting, tail lashing, and the eyes that flew at him from all 3 boats seemed only to drive his fury. Then, with one frightened move forward, the whale all jaws tore through Stubbs' boat as if the wood itself were made from paper. Then, swimming away from the stricken boat, the whale turned his flank. And there, lashed round and round by his own harpoon's line, was the half-torn body of Queequeg, his lifeless eyes staring back at Ahab.
Queequeg, I see now that the white whale is the first hearse that thou did prophesize.
And then, catching sight of the nearing black hull of the Pequod, thinking it a larger and nobler foe, the whale bore down upon the ship, smiting his jaws amid fiery showers of foam. In that moment, retribution, vengeance, eternal malice were in the whale's whole aspect. He drew the solid white buttress of his forehead into the ship's bow, until men and timbers reeled, and water poured in like mountain torrents.
The ship, the second hearse, the hearse made of American wood. I see now, savage, that 2 of your 3 prophecies have come to pass, and yet I shall still have my vengeance served, Moby Dick.
Then diving below the settling ship, the whale swam, quivering along its keel, but, turning in the water, shot back out into the air again. Far from the ship, but merely yards from Ahab's boat.
I turn my body from the sun. O ye three unsundered spires of mine, how uncracked keel, and only God's bullied home. Death, glorious ship, must you die and without me too? Am I cut off from the last fond pride of the meanest shipwrecked captains? Oh, lonely life, oh, lonely death! Now I see my topmost greatness lies in my topmost grief. Towards thee I roll, thou all-destroying but unconquering whale. To the last I grapple with thee, from hell's heart I stab at thee, and for hate's sake I spit my last breath at thee. Thus I give up my spear.
The harpoon was darted. The stricken whale flew forward. The harpoon's rope shot past Ahab, but on its second turn caught him about the neck. Voicelessly, Ahab was swept out of his boat, silently strangled by the hemp from Queequeg's dreams. And then, concentric circles, a great vortex, seized the stricken ship and all its crew, and everything, animate and inanimate, got swallowed by the waves. And the waves rolled on, like they did before, 5,000 years ago.
The drama's done.
Why then here does anyone step forth?
Because one did survive.
It was I, clutching to a piece of the wreckage, saved to tell this tale.